Can I tell you how proud I am every time I read one of your letters? I remember sitting right here doing a distant session. You're going to be doing this. You're,
Hmm.
it gives me so much joy. Yeah, it just gives me so much joy.
Oh.
I'm game. Your hair is crazy. I love it. It's so long.
Also, how are you? Slash happy anniversary. Can I tell you how such a generator moment of how excited I am that we're doing this? Okay, calm. Hey, friends, we are fearless. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Frances Young, and I am here today with one of my most favorite people. Let's just say, at least in Ontario. Welcome, Rebecca Llewellyn. I have known you since 2021. We're now almost at the end. I'm going to say the end of 2024. We're closing in. We've got a few months to go.
Before we get to this episode, I would really love for you to know what your human design energy type is so that you can follow along with what we're talking about, whether it's an episode with a guest or it's the Fearless Shorts. You're going to go to my website, www.thefearlessprojectltd.com. You're going to input some information and it's going to spit out something that looks a little weird. Yeah, that is called a human design body graph. It's going to tell you 3 important things that today I hope that you go forth into the rest of life, understanding what energy type means, strategy, and authority. And if not, just keep listening to the podcast. I can't wait for you to see what we talk about, what I talk about, and maybe get a laugh or two. So, without further ado,
Rebecca, let's introduce you to the audience. So, welcome, Rebecca. Who are you? I want everyone to know.
Well, first off, thank you. What a welcome. I'm just as excited to be here. 2021. Hey, that means I want to come back to that in a minute. I'm completing a 4-year cycle. So I find it really powerful that you've just named that. I literally leave for Peru in a couple days, and part of that completion of a 4-year cycle will be happening on a mountain for me. You just named something and just brought it into the ethers. So thank you. Who am I? I am a student of life, a human bumbling around this blue pebble, and really grateful to have a life in this now moment. To use labels, I'm a mom of a beautiful stepdaughter, but we don't use the word stepdaughter in my house. She's my sole child. I'm the understudy mom. I'm the rent-a-mom. I am a wife, and I just got a second doggy, so we are puppy parents to do. To add additional labels, I'm a shamanic practitioner. I'm a triple breathwork certificated, I can't speak, certified breathwork practitioner. I'm also a breathwork teacher. Good thing I'm not an English teacher. A channel and a seer. So essentially, I help people on their path of remembering as a medicine woman, as a multidimensional medicine woman.
I was so excited for you to say your intro so that people have one moment of context of Rebecca. And I do seek breath work from Rebecca. I have been working with her in multiple fashions, use the context of healing sessions, the work that you are here to do. I love every single time you talk about who you are in your online breath work. And
Thanks.
yeah, I was like so excited for the world to hear a variation of that. And that just happened right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like, who are we? Like, these are labels, but we as human beings, labels help us feel safe. They help us understand and process information. I used to struggle when I had to introduce myself at cocktail parties. Like, my life was a corporate life. My life was in the job world. I used to struggle with that because that label didn't identify who I was.
I very much resonate with the same moment. I've had multiple conversations about labels and identities today alone, let alone my life also.
Mm-hmm.
My label to give my own labels of personal trainer, yet still dancer for people that know my background. And if you've listened to this podcast enough, I identify with those things, but I never liked being put into one box, and that the world is like, you need to be this box or you're not going to be successful. Screw that.
It's also the people that just don't necessarily have the capacity to understand who we are too. And I'm okay with that as well. Let's say I meet someone and I'm in a pretty traditional environment at some sort of event and someone asks me what I do. I don't come out and say, usually they look at the tattoos on my hands, but I don't say I'm a multidimensional medicine woman. I'll say, "Oh, I'm in the self-help industry." Or sometimes I'll say I'm a life coach. I help people on their path. And they go, "Oh, okay." And they might ask me a few questions, but it's just sometimes easier. I feel like the younger version of me would have rang a major bell and a gong like, you need to see me, you need to understand me, la 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 la. And I'm like, as I've gotten older and more mature, obviously it's more, oh no, it's okay. This is what you're ready to understand, like this is, and then as people get more curious, then they come to me and they ask more about it. And like, great, awesome.
Yeah, all to that tune. So now to do a full circle moment to how I met Rebecca, the fact that we're wrapping up this 4-year cycle for you. Wow. Back in the day, this was just before COVID. So the end of 2019, I met also a mutual friend between myself and Rebecca. And we're going to name her because we fucking love Jennifer Mintz.
Yeah, like my good, we did our first breathwork training together. Between the two of us, we probably have got at least, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe even 8. She's got a few more. Like we've gone down that rabbit hole big time to be as educated as possible. But we did our very first breathwork training together, and we were accountability buddies. That bloomed into just a beautiful relationship, and we still are colleague accountability buddies. She is a very important person in my heart, as a friend, as a sister, but also as a colleague. Yeah.
Jen, we love your breath work, but we also just love you.
Yeah, we're apples and oranges, right?
I went down breathwork rabbit holes with Jen. Then Jen's like, you need to meet Rebecca. I'm like, okay. So at a certain point, 2021 came around, and something within me was saying, okay, I want to work on myself in a different way, hire a different type of life coach. I found myself an appointment with Rebecca, and then fast forward, here we are. I have received shamanic healing from Rebecca. I have done breath work.
I think that was the first appointment, was a shamanic
Yeah,
healing session. It was
it
energy
was.
work. It wasn't even breath work. It was energy work.
It was energy
Spirit.
work. And I know I think it was roughly in the afternoon. It was mid-February 2021. Your hair was a different color. You did not have tattoos on your hands yet. And you cleared stuff from my womb. I laughed really fucking hard. Some shit later on that week happened, and I was like, yo, this shit is cool. Then I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, this woman understanding energy in a different way, because I had never gone down the rabbit hole yet of understanding my body from an energetic essence and what passes through me, what Rebecca can pick up on. And it was an exploration on looking at myself in a different way that I didn't know I needed until I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely the hype, even more now than it was pre-COVID. We have to understand our shadows, all of this self-awareness,
Yeah.
self-help moment that you and I, as healers in our own way, we very much, what I also want to distill about just having Rebecca on my podcast is, we know that we come to certain healing modalities, whatever it is, even if it's just going for a massage.
Yes.
That is a healing experience.
I had acupuncture today. And for me, acupuncture, like I do it quite regular, is part of the tune-up that my body absolutely requires. But I go into different states of consciousness just by receiving acupuncture. I know it's working on my physiology and my meridians, but it also allows me to access other spaces and places.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The greater public, when they see this outside of just a self-help world, a healing world, they're like, oh my God, there's so much. Or if I do one thing, it's going to save me. It's going to change my entire life. Then you start going down different rabbit holes and you realize like, this is a way, way bigger journey than you ever thought it was going to be.
And it's finding it can get overwhelming. I want to come back I just want to dial back for a moment for your journey.
Totally.
You did a lot of work before, like you did a lot of breath work before we started working together. So that was super beneficial because I, as the energetic healer, as the shamana, as the medicine person, go in a little deeper in those first few sessions. Because very often in my work, I actually don't have a private practice really much anymore. I just don't have the space or the time for it. Often when I'm placing my hands on somebody energetically, tuning into their field, if they're not doing their work, those first few sessions are going to be like so physical. I'm getting a lot of their physical and real-time experiences as well as the emotional body. And we can be in the emotional body space for a very long time as we're trying to support the person in clearing stories and programs and traumas and things like that. Whereas I think we did, but then very quickly I was starting to access all sorts of different other realms and past life information and things like that for you. And that's a testament to you doing the work. And this work isn't a one and done. It's forever till we expire, till we are complete, whether you choose to or not. Not everybody needs to take that on. If you're choosing to just be in this now moment and experience what's coming at you, then I actually respect that, and I choose me and you choose you. But when you're stepping in to the curiosity of what is available to you for your path of transformation, lack of a better word, healing. I don't always like to use the word healing because I feel like that denotes something is wrong, when really, whether it's an ailment or a wound in the physical body or a wound in the heart, like that's wisdom and information being brought to us to look at, to be clear, transmuted, and shifted so we can receive and actually become clearer and understand. There's a lot out there and lots of traditions and lots of modalities and lots of people, and it's not one way is the only way. I think it's really important that if you are open and curious to working with additional modalities or practitioners, that you be open-minded to what you think you're looking for, open-minded to what resonates not only with your mental body, because that's probably the driving force at the beginning, but also your heart. That's a primary brain. And the somatic body. Your somatic body will tell you if something is in alignment or not. Then the other piece is use your discernment. Use your discernment, use that muscle. Just because somebody's offering it doesn't mean they're there for your highest and best good. There are charlatans and shadow spaces in the most conscious of communities, right? Really use your discernment of who you choose to be vulnerable with energetically, physically, emotionally. Use your curiosity of what feels right in your bones. And that's where I would say you start.
Totally. And I knew you were going to describe that perfectly.
I'm long-winded.
Perfectly. No, it's the way it was meant to come out. To describe some things I've experienced with Rebecca and my life in context since you've watched me evolve to this moment. I tell people in my world, yes, I see a shaman. Yes, I have these healers and these people that I work with in my life, but basically 2023 to now, so we're getting close to being able to say 2 years, I actually haven't seen you as much.
No.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
I know, it's amazing. That's also because, yes, as you mentioned, your practice has changed for how you serve, where you are serving, and how much your work has evolved, and that you have beautifully also evolved with it. So I also want to say back to you, thinking to how I viewed you as a practitioner and saw you when I first started working with you, and then seeing you now and feeling so grateful to know you and just even be on your breathwork once a month when I can. I'm like, She's the best, and I'm so glad that I know
Yeah.
her.
You have to come to Peru with me one day.
Yes. Oh my God. Full body generator. Yes. We'll get to the human design of this episode, but I'll just throw that in there. Rebecca is also a generator, just like myself. In 2021, though, to basically the beginning of 2023, so a 2-year journey there, I saw you almost once a month, about
Yeah,
every
at
6
least
months.
6 months, 6 weeks.
Yeah. It was pretty consistent.
We swapped it out. It would
We
be
did.
between shamanic breath work, where I would merge the breath and the shamanic healing, and then straight up breath work, straight up energy work. And it was like half the time it was in person and half the time it was online.
Online was just as impactful, just so people know,
Yeah.
just as
Well,
impactful.
it's actually easier for the healer, for the person. You
Mm-hmm.
know why? Think of it as before Zoom, people did distance healing, right? They did distance work. You'd call the person on the phone. Yeah, I'm gonna. The point is at 8 o'clock. Okay, either you would stay on the phone with them, or I prefer to be like, I'll do the session, then I'll call you when I'm done. And then Zoom appeared, and so that kind of changed everything. The difference for me as a practitioner, as someone who's serving, when someone's in your space, they get their mental bodies very activated and they become conscious. Sometimes they feel they need to talk a lot, like they have a harder time dropping in, which can just take the practitioner a little bit longer to get into the energetic bodies, right? Or the etheric bodies and stuff. I find when I'm doing a distance session, boom, that person is in their own surrounding. There's something about people in their own space, and they just drop in and they don't feel they need to talk as much. And I can go in. It's like acupuncture. You just go in really, really quickly. There's just a really easy merging, because that's essentially what happens. We're the reality is you can do this kind of work, work that is energetic or transmissions. We can be anywhere in the world to do this work. We don't need to, because we're the office is up there. Like
Yeah.
we're in a different realm and place. So that's my 2 cents about that.
That's so cool. My life at that time, to give a broad overview for people, and we'll go into some specifics, I won't go into all of them, but it had some chaos. It had some beautiful moments. Also, it had healing and chaos at the same time, to use those words. In that period of 2 years roughly, I had one relationship end. I started a new relationship. I lost my dad.
That was big.
That was big. And when I still, like, I say it like that, and Rebecca will probably be like, "Fran, you can still take some more time with that," because
Yeah.
I'm somebody that, something happens, a wall falls down, and I'm like, well, I got to keep going. Literally, I know that in this moment, when I think back to who Frances was, when I very first had that first energetic session with you, yes, I know I'm completely different, but the way that I want to reframe the sentence to myself is, you don't realize the beauty of who you are when you're in that moment beginning sessions with someone such as Rebecca. But I hold that version of myself very dearly and with a lot of compassion, as opposed to saying now in the way that, oh my God, that person needed so much help. I'm so proud of myself for going to you, for being through that work, and being very open to be like, yeah, that was hard. This was good. This was, in air quotes, we want to say good and bad, but I wouldn't have changed any of those experiences to now be where I am now. Feel a completely different essence of Frances that was there all along. That yes, you did help break away layers for me to just see that she was there already.
Remember? I remember, like, she's these layers, these programs. I just remind everyone, like, every decision, every moment in your life brings you to this now moment. We're having this now moment together because both of us have made choices and moments on the path that now we would not be able to have this conversation if we hadn't have made those choices on the path. Or we hadn't have lived and experienced these parts of life, the shadow and the light. That's the language I would use.
Yeah.
And you should be proud, because it takes courage It takes courage for us to go inside. It takes courage for us to look at the mud and the muck. It takes courage for us to explore the unknown within us.
Mhm.
It takes courage for us to push up against some of those tender edges.
Yeah.
The easy choice would be to do nothing about it and remain victim in our life or to numb out.
And we all have the ways that even that Rebecca and I still have our coping mechanisms, numbing moments.
For
But
sure.
I very much, even in this year, and say this year that Rebecca and I haven't had as many one-on-one moments together, is that I feel a different way into using the word compassion to myself in different times where I'm like, yeah, I know I'm doing this thing, but this thing is okay right now. Even if that thing isn't really that bad. I'm binging this TV show or
Yeah.
whatever. Let's just say something.
Yeah. The other
yeah.
piece is you've been stacking your own toolbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
The deeper we go on the path, we're also stacking our own toolbox. Like you now have a really good relationship with your breath. If you're having a shitty day or there's some anxiety moving through, you already know that I can just take a minute and just take some breath, or I've got a mantra, or I've got a meditation. So once we start to build our own personal toolbox, whether it's a health and wellness toolbox or a spiritual toolbox, these are all tools that help us to support ourselves when we're moving through that space of contraction, when we're going into the shadow. And it's the more we do our work, the more we are devoted to the path and become aware of who we are in our present moment. Again, the breath being an incredible indicator of where we are in that now moment, then we are able to support ourselves in a deeper way than we ever were before. And usually the wave will move a lot faster than it did 2 years ago.
I find that for sure.
Right?
The ways in which I'm having this trial this week. Okay, let's have an awareness one particular evening or sit down with myself, conversation, however long it has to be, whatever that means of my awareness tool, whether it's journaling that I started well before knowing you. That one's tried, tested, and true for me as I know that I'm a writer. However, I can have a conversation with myself, know that something's happening, and then by the end of the week be over. Me complete the cycle.
Exactly.
That is literally the most empowering thing about
Right?
once you understand how your awareness needs to operate in order to be at the next, in air quotes, level, or deal with a situation in your life that you're like, I knew I was given this in air quotes on purpose, is we're given the energy as to which we match on purpose. And then let's move on. Let's have the next experience. Let's go to the next present moment.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I had that happen to me a few weeks ago and really like witnessed it. I was like, okay, cool. Great. Moving on. Not in a bad way. What's like a life experience that I had that I worked on with? I had some really deep ones. I always go to relationships with Rebecca.
And to be fair, we did a lot of relational work, but the relational work was not always with the living people.
No.
The relational work was ancestral. We had people who had passed on who were coming forward and supporting you, healing and forgiveness that was coming forward through that. And also through your one relationship, also the healing that was working through some of his ancestors and the passing, right? Relationships are so much more than what we see in the 3D. And we really, our work together, we did quite a spider web of relational healing, letting go and releasing and forgiveness and peace.
Yeah. And that I think was something that opened my eyes up so much more to the understanding of, again, using the word healing, what it means when you're working on energy for yourself and what's currently happening in day-to-day moments and the struggles that you deal with, but that you're really healing many years of your own ancestors, of other people's ancestors. That's something I'd never really been opened up to before. But now, even again, I'm like, oh, there's a lot more at play here always than what even the in the moment fight that you're having your partner with. That I think is a greater conversation that no one is still really talking about, to be perfectly honest. That's a That's one that when you're holding space for somebody and you're just letting them talk to you about their day and having a moment, there is like ancestral healing that's going on as opposed to trying to fix the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we tend to stumble when people are new on the path of serving, whether they're a Reiki master or a energy worker. We think we're here to fix, and we're actually not. We are not here to fix. We cannot fix you. We can hold the space, we can be the hollow bone, and we can be the channel. We can provide support for you to be your own healer, guru, master, teacher. When we are doing that's really when the ease of the shift and the transformation starts to happen. To come back to that point of when you're talking about this, all I see are your ancestors standing behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the line, there's that lineage, the 7 generations behind you. And everything we do, people call this self-care. It's not self-care, it's soul care. If you think about it, what we're doing is we're breaking cycles, we're breaking patterns, we're breaking programs. They talk about breaking the cycle of abuse when it comes to like children and whatnot, but that language could be brought into this dialogue with our ancestral patterns and pieces that continue to be passed down to us through our bloodlines, right? Through our waters. If we start looking at this self-exploration, less about self-care and more about, oh, this is me breaking a cycle and supporting the healing, the liberation of my ancestral line. We're breaking these karmic bonds and contracts and shackles, and as these come to completion, as we clear them, as we heal them, that impact is directly felt on the next 7 generations, whether you have children or not, your nieces, your nephews, your stepchildren, right? If we were to able to rethink the language around this, maybe more people would step into their own transformation and become their own butterfly.
Yeah. Being the person that I am, I was like, yes, we'll have questions to follow. We've been vibing on literally all of my questions thus far. I
Okay.
want to say one thing that I realized I didn't want to forget to say is the tools, the deep understanding that Rebecca has given to me through our work and our sessions together. I'll describe something that has happened to me since August. Diego, he'll listen to it at some point. Anyways, uh, we're exploring someone new, and his name is Diego. Hey, Diego. And I've mentioned to him that I've been really emotional since I've met you, to Diego. There's been a period of my time from, let's just say, November of 2023 until now, where there was a piece of me, Rebecca, that you don't know this, but cool that I get to say this to you live. I shut down a part of myself emotionally with regards to opening myself up to a relationship and an intimate partner, because I'd been trying, and nothing was working. Or wherever I was being told and pushed was on purpose, but not yet feeling like I was meeting somebody that I was destined to meet. And I hadn't been crying a lot. That was like starting to become concerning for myself, as crying is a form of release. I very much look at crying now as very important. And I think I did in my past, but like now with a different sense of awareness for myself, I think about that as like deeply healing, regardless if it's an angry cry or a sad cry or whatever that cry happens to have as an emotional tone with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then August comes along. I happened to meet Diego, and I came home after a couple absolutely beautiful times of meeting this man, and I cried, but I'd had the best fucking time of my life. We'd laugh, whatever like crazy shenanigans we got up to when we'd like literally only known each other for a week and a half. And I would start crying. A different version of me would have been like, oh no, this could be bad, or what, like, why am I crying? The question, why? I literally laid in my bed, let myself cry. I just kept trying to soothe myself. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Part of it for like my energetic understanding for the way that my human brain understands is that I'm picking up on someone else's emotions. Yes, as an empath. Yes, as a non-emotional generator, to throw in some human design, and probably feeling something that he's feeling and just crying it out, getting it out of my system. I feel very privileged to know somebody and already in such a short period of time feel very energetically open to then naturally unlock something in myself again that I'd shut off.
Mm, it's beautiful. I do remember in the early days working with you, the armor, and that's a lifetime of armor, right? There was lots behind the reasoning why that armor existed and protected you. So we say thank you to the armor. Then working with the armor, especially around when we were working through the grief piece and inviting that space of softness so that we could feel the grief, because if we don't, it gets frozen in our cells. It gets frozen in the embodiment of who we are. Just honoring your journey of softening and being with the teachings of water and grandmother water. And, if we don't cry, we do become sick, much like the bodies of water, because stagnant water is unhealthy. Water needs to flow and it moves the energy. Water is also considered a purge. So the waters are so important for us to maintain a healthy equilibrium and balance physiologically, emotionally, and energetically. It sounds like this new beautiful human in your life is a match for you in this now moment. And for you to, and also as you were sharing, I also feel like perhaps unconsciously there was a great sense of gratitude and appreciation within your somatic body to be met, to be seen in a bigger way, the way you've been calling in
For a long time.
for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time. I couldn't wait to share that moment with you, because a previous version of me would have been like, oh my God, like, why is this happening? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But from all of the work that even happens post our sessions that I am unconsciously unknown to.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say you're unconsciously doing it either, Francis. I think you're consciously doing it, because I've been on the other end of those emails and notes from you, and you're like, okay, so it's been a week, and da 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 da. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you are consciously processing and clocking and learning from your experiences. This is such important work. This isn't, sure, we can go out there and we can buy all the certificates we want. We can take a weekend course. We can take a 3-month course. We can take all these things. If you don't actually show up, pony up, and do the actual work and then the integration, you're just buying pieces of paper. It's doing the work and the integration that embodies this into wisdom, into knowing. That's why I don't really subscribe to the, oh, I've become a medium or a psychic. I got the certificate from this kind of school. And I'm like, usually it's like the channel opens up and then you're doing the work. It's an inside job, all of it, regardless of the modality. It's up to you to do it. And you demonstrated to me time and time again your commitment and devotion to your personal path of transformation, and by doing your integration work. Because a lot of people forget or don't see how important the integration piece is.
Thank you so much. My next question is perfect. I want to hear from you about what is actually your favorite thing about what you do, as the blanket statement as to what you do, not saying just breath work, just this, but what is your favorite thing?
There's lots of, I'm going to give you a macro answer.
Okay. Yeah.
I love watching people change their life and become empowered and not need me anymore. or step
amazing.
into colleagueship, like that.
Mm,
That's it right there for me. It fills my cup
mm.
to see people, to meet them. Then years later or whatever, they've totally flipped their way of thinking. They're no longer in victim. They're super empowered. Or they're now talking to a parent. Or they've changed their job. Or they've gone and they're now a breathwork certified, and those types of things.
Yeah.
I think that for me is the most humbling and yet biggest privilege I get for just showing up the way I do for the people that choose to walk with me for just a sliver of time.
And they're still walking with you for the rest of their existence also, just like you are with them.
Totally. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
definitely a spiral. I find that I have like my diehard community members who will be like all the breath works and da da da. And then there's people who they circle in and out as they keep, one of the biggest, what's the word I'm trying to find? Compliments is that like once a month I have a pretty large in-person shamanic breathwork ceremony in Dundas. And I'd say a third of that breathwork are practitioners, healers, therapists. They come not to be fixed. They come because they trust me to create a space where they can recharge and access their highest consciousness, their guides, their fill in the blank. That to me is like the biggest compliment, to be that space for other healers and practitioners and medicine people. That's pretty special.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we could say it's a plug or not, but your in-person breathwork community moments, whether it's online, in person. I've also done a breathwork retreat with you at a beautiful location. And Jen, yeah, because Jen was there, yo. Jen, we love you. The community of breathwork and holding ceremony with multiple people at once with Rebecca, and if you do have another practitioner with you, is so timeless, magical, all of these like beautiful words that I could come up with.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That if anyone has the chance to with Rebecca, if you live in Southern Ontario, I highly recommend.
Thank you. I'm just closing my door because my dogs are going mental downstairs.
We knew the puppies were going to get to be a part of the episode at some point.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be an episode without it. Plus, if I would be with you in person,
Billy would be all over you.
Billy would be attached to me at the hip for then be out and then be in and then be out.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that at least both him and little sister,
Macaroni
and his new little sister are making an appearance. We also have to talk a little bit about human design. And I haven't talked to you about your human design in so long.
I feel so like little kid. I don't get it. It's right up there with astrology for me. It just feels so big.
It is. It's massive. And from when I first described it to you, and I legitimately gave you a reading, went back when I was like, I'm still a baby reader, but I'm more of an expert than back when I read for you, which was probably at least a year and a half ago. I have it on my phone, and I've got two main points that I want to vibe on.
I'm a generator. Vroom, vroom.
Yeah, you are. One thing to just like bring up in this moment about Rebecca being a generator is that when a generator is doing what they love, however, the amount of their life that they've been doing said thing that they love, and I watch the generator just talk about what they do, what they love, I can see peace in them. I can see the energy of the joy, of the love, of the embodiment of what they love so much when they're doing it. Getting this whole recording thus far of just being in your vibe and in your altar room and these things that are Rebecca and you being the generators, if they're doing what they love, they are at peace. They're just so satisfied with their life.
It's so true, because when I'm not, and I say this to my clients who are on the path as well, like when I'm not in alignment, when something's not, like for example, if my price point is no longer in alignment, I am exhausted. My body breaks down, all of the things. If an offering is no longer in alignment, I'm pushing it really hard. Nobody's signing up for it. If it's like, when it's super in alignment with who I am and it's just like, it's like grease lightning. It's so awesome. It's so lovely.
Literally the perfect description of why, when we're doing things that are opposite, in air quotes, to our design, to our energy, that life doesn't flow.
No.
Money doesn't flow, energy doesn't flow, our own personal, we burn out, we get an injury, we get X. And then we have to go down that rabbit hole of accepting that this is why this is happening. And
Surrender.
then, exactly. In this moment, I want to bring up, I remember the moment you fell down your stairs a couple years ago and you broke your foot 2 years ago. Yeah.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, and I had an avulsion fracture. I literally snapped it on within hours of me going to do a 40-person breathwork collab. Yeah, it was wild. And I did it with a broken foot.
Kudos.
I had all the things and a cane, and I'm like, I'm doing this. They're getting their breath. They're getting their service.
Then you healed that injury in such a fast amount of time. One, because it made you slow down. So you did the things next that you were actually meant to do.
And I want to pinpoint that the reason why I'm pretty confident, the reason why I broke my ankle, and it's not the first time I've had an avulsion fracture on that particular ankle. Usually, the first time I broke that particular ankle, same space, same place in my house, all the things. I was having a conversation with my boss on a Sunday. It was not going very well. I was just in a very unhappy place. This particular one, I had found out. We had jumped to 40 and I was like, I didn't have another breathwork practitioner, but I knew Lisa was going to work with me. So it was fine. Like I had this moment and I became ungrounded. Wow. So when we're not grounded, we're endangered in our body.
Yeah.
We have to be so grounded. I was not grounded in my body.
Bring the groundedness to generator vibes. Generators, we get very caught up in our productivity, in our, especially you being a Capricorn sun, of being like, let's go, whatever that means.
Produce.
Whether it's work or family, whatever, it doesn't matter. You guys are always doing the thing. And generator, our biggest fears and energy, our biggest conditioning that we're breaking with knowing what human design means is our worth is not dependent on our productivity.
And that's such an old program. There's so many layers we could sit here and dissect this, because if you're a woman who's had a career in the corporate sector, that's a whole societal programming. Being and operating from an unhealthy young perspective, or the unhealthy masculine, because that's how our systems have been constructed. In Western civilization, they are these patriarchal constructs. Your performance is based on how you produce. So there's that I want to say I am still unwinding from. Then there's, the generator piece. There's so many ways we can dissect this. It's bigger, I think, than we actually understand.
Mm-hmm. And I think just another reason why we have yet another modality. Human design is just another self-help awareness modality to be like, this is another way you can look at yourself and your energy, and a way to ground and step away from the ways in which our conditioning, our society, our XYZ in the moment has made us think we need to feel in order to feel like we are worthy. Mm-hmm. To say something about your design, because I have your chart next to me.
Do you? Tell me.
I do. If I hold it up to the camera, it's on my phone.
Okay.
One thing that I don't think I've described to you actually at all, ever, is something that's really cool to specifically Rebecca being a channel and a seer, to use those particular labels. In human design, there are many ways that we can talk about how we see and how we are empathic and feel others and their energy. One thing that I have not seen on any other person's graph besides Rebecca's is the fact that Rebecca has an open splenic center, or it's the instinctual center in human design. This moment where you're going to have a hit and you're like, oh, I know this thing. That's what the spleen does with human design. And it's also our oldest awareness center in our bodies because it has kept us alive. It's why we're sitting here recording this podcast. It has kept humans alive. Rebecca has it white, so she can feel everyone else's instinctual hits and moments of very important energy to somebody's system, giving them some awareness. However, Rebecca has there are numbers on a human design graph, and Rebecca has every single number in that spleen, what I'm going to say in this moment, turned on, or they're active, except for one. In this moment, to me, it doesn't matter what the one is, but she has all of this active energy in splenic awareness to feel everyone else's, but yet doesn't necessarily in the moment need to know hers, but she can pick up on reading the room from someone else real fast. She can pick up on, this is how this person needs to improve this piece of her life in a second.
Oh my God, that's so crazy true.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. I knew you were going to find this particular
so
piece really
cool.
Yeah, because legit. So for me, my experience with the spleen is different, but somewhat the same. So my spleen is also open in my graph, and I can pick up on, oh, I think I'm feeling this from this person, but I can't necessarily name it because I do not have any of these numbers or gates or gifts, in air quotes, active. But for you, I'm going to read all the ones that you have active.
I'm very fast to name. Like, my husband's like, you don't know that. I'm like, yeah, no, I do.
That's a description of that moment. So Rebecca has improvement. Rebecca has the ability to know, I kind of like said it a moment ago, how she would need to improve a situation for someone else. She's picking up on what they need to improve. You're picking up on, it's very similar to the improvement one, but how a situation needs to be completed in order for that situation to be successful. When to send an email in order for that email to go through on that business, for that deal to go through.
That's so great. You're naming me, man. This is crazy. I love it.
Yeah. Then there's one that's called spotting trends and patterns. So you can pick up in somebody, they understand a TikTok trend and when they're supposed to do XYZ, or that this business is the one that's going to blow up and they need to go invest in this business. Trends can be big or small. I'm just saying some larger ones that our society thinks about. The trend of watching the weather in this way, and you just know that you need to travel on this day because I saw this pattern.
Right.
Something like that. This is a big one. You understand in someone instinctually in the moment how they need to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. A lot of the times people don't believe me. It takes them a while.
I'm going to put my hand up. It's taken me a while to fully embody what Rebecca has told me of, this is how Fran is already the best version of Fran. For sure. I know you know this one about yourself. There's a gift in the spleen that's called reading the room. Yeah. Walking into a room and you're like, I already know what was said in here, or I don't want to be in this room because that 100%,
100%. Oh my gosh, my husband makes fun of me for this all the time.
That's like a serious gift, bro. I do and I don't have
he that. He thinks I'm being dramatic.
You get to be dramatic about that all day long. You know when the timing of something is, in air quotes, meant to happen for someone. When you're picking up on their energy, oh, I can feel that this person's going to talk to you at this time.
Yeah, I don't often pinpoint dates, but I usually will share like time frame in terms of quarters or seasons or month or weeks. Yeah.
I would say that's true for my experience with you, for sure.
Because spirit has free will, right? So you can change it all. So that's,
we are always in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
The one, and it's interesting. So in human design and what gifts mean what when you're looking at these numbers on a graph is that we can say certain numbers kind of have more magical powers than others. They're all magical. They're all amazing. The one that you do not have active or that's not lit up in your spleen is actually one of the more, we could say, witchy ones, or, magical ones. But you have the gift opposite to it lit up, which I think is cool. It's a gift of enthusiasm, speaking with enthusiasm. The two of us lit up together. Rebecca are so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
It's off the charts. Of course, that describes you. But 48 is one that I think your energy chose not to have, because 48 is actually, they call it the gift of purity or wisdom. And that when someone does have that one active, they're actually somebody that doesn't necessarily realize that they have this purity and this wisdom. Your energy already operates that way anyway. So I'm like, it doesn't need it anyway.
I guess not.
Which is,
not in this lifetime.
Not in this lifetime, yeah, I guess. One thing that I think is cool about your graph is that, so there are a lot of white centers on Rebecca's graph. That means that she is feeling the energy around her a lot.
Can I share with you one of my spirit names?
Please.
It's the white deer.
That makes sense.
I didn't know I had white in my chart, but there you go.
There are 9 centers on a human design chart that represent chakras or energetic systems of the body when represented on a graph. And there are 9. You have only 2 colored in.
Really?
So you have 7 white centers out of 9.
7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yet still this like lust for life of this generator, go, go, go. I got this, but I love it. I got this, but I love it kind of vibe. One that I feel like is cool to say on a note, and then I have a question for you after we've ripped on some just cool things that I'm like, I guess this is why I'm saying this and channeling this to you today.
Love it.
Is there is something called the G center.
I'm married to the G. Gerald.
Yeah, you are. That's probably another reason why I said it. G center. Our G center in human design has, I'll say, 2 facets about it. Kind of like nerdiness of nerds for human design readers out there is that we forget to say sometimes that the G center is actually also our crystal of consciousness. And what that means in human design lingo is that there is a piece of dark matter within us that is guiding us. That is where our soul lives in our body. The part for yourself, Rebecca, that I think is so beautiful about your G center is it's completely white. There are no numbers active in it, and it's a white center of your 7 of white. What that means is that your soul came here to experience different directions, to not be defined by one identity. Like even bring full circle as to like how you introduced yourself at the beginning, and to be so open with the flow as to where your journey will take you in this one particular lifetime of Rebecca. And when I see an open G in, let's use the word alignment, they're really okay with it. They're really like, yeah, I did this. I had corporate life. I whatever direction you've headed in at this point. And even myself, I have a defined G, so mine operates a little bit differently, but the white one is when it's just in its ultimate happiness and not feeling like it's in a rush, is also then meant to reflect back to everyone else that it's okay to have so many different directions and so many different parts to your journey that make it up as a whole. So I really love that that is actually what your graph says, and that that life experience for you is currently also where you're at with it. I think that's amazing.
That's like such an accurate like reflection. I love that I just scored a reading. Thank you.
You're welcome. And like, of being a generator, doing something that I love, just talking to somebody about what makes them them. I didn't realize that I knew I needed human design until I was shown human design and was like, oh my God, these are the weird answers we didn't know we had on this planet to why I feel the way that I do.
I remember when you started stepping into it, I'm like, you're going to do this.
Yeah. And I was like, I know, but I have no idea where it's going. And all of a sudden I do this and I do that. It feels like my infancy is that the world doesn't know me yet about human design, but yet I'm supposed to be known really like big. I see all of these people and things that are bigger than me. Now my reframe is just like, well, Fran, just keep talking about it and see where it leads you next.
We just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Right? We just keep showing up, and Spirit's showing us the global stage. It's showing many of us the global stage. Remember, we have this perception of what that means. But if one person shares this podcast day, and then the next day someone else, and the next day someone else, and the next day, you are going to be the ripple effect that goes around the planet how many times, right? The impact looks so different. We don't have to necessarily be filling a stadium. Just as long as we stand in our conviction and our devotion and true alignment of our message and our mission and our service, just know that you're having an impact on the planet, the collective.
That's, I know, ultimately the end of the day, what both of our souls and what we resonate with each other so much, Rebecca and Francis, is that we just want everyone to feel their most authentic, their most wholesome, and that starts with the people in our life, and that has the ripple effect.
100%.
To keep on task, at the beginning, I pulled a card for Rebecca and I.
You sure did.
We're going to read what that card says, because now I'm excited for this whole podcast to have been definitely reflective as to what this card will be about. We happen to pull Eagle Spirit at the beginning. And Rebecca's beautiful altar, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, wherever we put it up, Rebecca has a lot of eagle feathers.
I've got two right there. Like I've got a wing set. I work with those regularly. I work very regularly with the eagle, also with the hawk, and then the condor as well. So I've got some bird medicine is very prominent in the work that I do.
Very, very prominent. I wasn't surprised. We've got, what else is on this eagle? They've got a crown on their head. They've got extra feathers at their temple of what would be the temple on the bird's head. The number is 23, which put together is 5, which is change, alchemy. The words at the bottom that says Spirit has your back, which
that's it. That lands. I love it. I love
happy
it.
to be here. If people are curious, this is the Oracle deck, the Spirit Animal Oracle.
Is that Colette Baron Reed?
Yep.
Yeah, I have that deck.
Yep. The Oracle message for our card, Rebecca, is think of the eagles flying high above the other birds, soaring on the wind. Eagle Spirit has appeared to ask whether you're willing to soar to new heights, even if that means solitude for a short while. Truly, all of the wisdom of the world is available to you. When storms flash across the sky, it is Eagle Spirit that raises you above it all, helping you conquer fear and overcome adversity, reminding you that Spirit has your back and wants you to experience life at its fullest. At this moment, you are meant to know that you have the highest of wisdom and courage within, gifted to you by Spirit and all the angels. Boldly build your nest in a lofty space and know that now you can fly effortlessly, proudly embodying Eagle Spirit in all her glory and grace, claiming what is truly yours in divine timing.
That is so beautiful and perfect.
It's so amazing. You're welcome. This 4-year cycle, you're about to go to Peru and probably be on your own except the community that you're with.
Yes, leaving my family behind. I've been going to Peru every year for the last 4 years. My beautiful sister and colleague, Timi, and I, we channeled a women's retreat. It came through Christ consciousness in our first journey in 2021. We went back in 2022 because we were like, we just need to make sure this is for real. So we spent a month. We prayed with the ancestors of the land. We spoke with our teachers. We wanted to make sure we were not part of some sort of spiritual appropriation. We didn't want to be in spiritual tourism, and we wanted to be in right relations, not only with the people, but also with the land and the spirits of the land and the mountains. It was just such a clear yes. We last year it took a year for us to like fully get everything exactly as we wanted it. Then last year we went and we had an incredible journey. And then this is our next year. Like we sold this out by the spring. Next year is October 2025. And we've already sold 4 spots. So there's only 6 spots left. Again, that goes to show you when we're in alignment, when we're walking with spirit in true alignment, then it's so easeful. What's beautiful is that I always go there before, a couple days earlier. We have meetings and I get to sit with my teacher, and then I stay a little longer afterwards to regroup. I've just completed a 4-year cycle with tobacco. And so when you said this is since 2021, I'm like, holy moly, like this 4 years ago I went to Peru, and that's when spirit spoke to both Timmy and I at the same time. When we looked at each other, we were on a bus. We weren't even at our retreat yet. We were just on a bus and we're looking at each other. We're like, oh my God, did you just hear what I just hear? And it was just a really big moment. I have been wearing the same medicine pouch. I'm not wearing it. I've got my new one on right now, but I've been wearing the same medicine pouch for 4 years, and it has parts of all of my prayers, all of my dietas, every trip to Peru. It's got tobacco, it's got land, it's got stones, it's got orange seeds, rose petals. It's got all of my big prayers and ceremonies of the last 4 years. I had a major activation and opening on the mountains in 2021, which just accelerated everything for me. And then when I went to Avebury this spring, I went to the UK. We were doing a whole breathwork graduating class. And before I went to Glastonbury, I was in Avebury, and I had a massive activation and transmission against the stone. And right after that, my medicine bag, the string just came undone. I'm like, oh my God, we're complete. Wow. I knotted it up because I wasn't going to do a week of deep breath work and not wear my medicine pouch. Right. And it did it again. I'm like, it's complete. Holy, what am I going to do? I'm like, I still wore it for my tobacco dieta. And then I completed it after that. I know it's done. So I had a beautiful Mohawk medicine woman make me a brand new one. And I'm bringing that particular medicine pouch with me to offer back to the land when I go to the indigenous community of Peru. I'm going to bury it in the mountains I feel emotional, give offering for where my soul first incarnated on this planet. It's just been a really big 4 years of remembering.
Yeah. Now I know why we have 5 on the card, because 4 is done.
Aha! There you go.
That's why I need to say that now. Thank you for giving us insight into your 4-year cycle.
Well, thank you. I didn't even realize it until we were having this conversation. So
neither did I.
Spirit's so precise.
The divine timing.
Yeah.
The divine timing. Rebecca, thank you so much for being on my podcast, being in my life, walking this crazy human journey with me. And I know we haven't seen each other in so long. We're literally giving each other the virtual hug in this moment.
I am seeing you in December.
I know. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm so excited. We'll just put that out there. Everyone, I'm doing more work with Rebecca in December. Yeah.
I'm going to love you.
Oh, yeah. To round out my 2024. I can never wrap this one up with you because it's just a continual journey. So I get to see you soon, and I wish you the most beautiful, expansive Peru journey. And I feel so blessed to have now introduced officially you to my audience and my world.
I'm a little verklempt. And I just want to say thank you for inviting me into your community. It continues to be a privilege to watch you fly. It's not my place to be proud, but I am very proud of the incredible steps you've taken to become your most authentic version of you, the most aligned version of you, unabashedly you. And I love that for you and for all of us. So thank you for leading by example. I love you, and I can't wait to play.
I'd like to leave you with a reframe as to how to look at yourself with a little more fearlessness. Once upon a time, I did a meditation. This was a few years ago. Coming out of this meditation, something was very clear from my body. My body told me to fear itself less. You do not have to be afraid of the intuition that your body is speaking to you. You can fear yourself less. You can love yourself more, and I promise you that life is going to show you the rest.